I'm talking fast-paced action. I'm talking lights, camera, action. You better be about that action, cause ain't no need for no act. Talking hits so hard they breaking backs. Yeah, I ain't with all the chitter chatter, only talking facts. Yeah, it's the NAL, we be playing indoors, no outdoors, and it ain't on the ground. It's the NAL, it's the NAL, it's the NAL, it's the NAL. Ooh! I said the NAL, the NAL, the NAL, the NAL, the NAL, the NAL.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of NAL Game Day. I am Jim Renier. Two big matchups in the National Arena League today, including the one in Salina between the Omaha Beef and the Salina Liberty, a rebirth of a rivalry. Also, in Pueblo, the Dallas Bulls will take on the Pueblo Punishers in a matchup where Pueblo can go into their first bye week of the season on top of their standings and undefeated. Or does the Dallas Bulls bounce back and get a big win in Pueblo? That game, and also the Omaha versus Salina Liberty game, is live on the NAL Network. That's NAL-network.com for all NAL-related content, coaches shows, highlights, and much, much more. NALnetwork.com. Also, we can't do this without our sponsors. Black Rifle Coffee, First Phantom Energy, Hard AF Seltzer, MyBookie, and SNHU. When we talk about rivalries, you think of some of the greatest rivalries in sports. Yankees, Red Sox, Duke, North Carolina, because it's March Madness. But rivalries mean more than just the rivalry itself. There's history about it. Where does it come from? Between these two organizations, between Salina and Omaha, dates back to the early years, the early 2009, 2010 years, when it wasn't the Salina Liberty taking on the Omaha Beef. It was the Salina Bombers taking on the Beef. But since then, these two organizations have played each other in a challenging back and forth affair, multiple playoff matchups, multiple regular season interactions. But most importantly, it's the history behind it. In the early era of this series, the Omaha Beef had the upper edge on the field, in the regular season, and in the postseason. But in the mid 2010s, Salina got back into the race. This is when Coach Ron O'Neill joined the Salina Liberty. And they went back and forth, splitting the majority of the games. Omaha currently still has a 4-game advantage over the Salina Liberty, but some of the most epic matchups between these two teams came in the form of the CIF championship games. In 2019, Salina made their first ever championship game, but it wasn't against the team in Omaha. It was against a city called the Duke City Gladiators. But the rivalry really started to begin in 2021, especially the 3 straight matchups they faced each other in championship games. And all the games were very close. Besides the 2023 matchup where Omaha got the upper hand and started pulling away late. This series means a lot. But for a lot of fans out there, some people overlook this matchup for the one between Sioux City and Omaha. But Salina and Omaha has history. We had a chance to talk to head coach Ron O'Neill today, and he talks about just more than just the history between the two teams, what it really means for both organizations. Earlier today, I sat down with Salina head coach Ron O'Neill. I'm joined by the head coach of the Salina Liberty, Coach O'Neill. Coach, welcome to the show and happy game day to you.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me on the show today.
Well, Coach, I know it's been a hectic off season because, as the indoor football season, it's 6 months of the year you're selling your team to the sponsors and people around the community. Then 6 months out of the year you're playing football. Which side do you like better, the coaching or building the community partnerships?
I'll say 50-50. I don't do as many sponsorships, but I do go into pretty much all of the sponsors, at least the food ones, because I love to eat once I'm up this way and, get to know those guys. And then at the game, after the game, we have our little autograph sessions and things of that nature. And that's when I get to be reacquainted with some of the different sponsors and things like that. And we go to different public appearances around the city that I get a chance to see them. But of course, I love the football piece, the actual, the coaching, dealing with the players, making game plans, practice plans, travel plans. But I would say 50-50 when it comes to that.
50-50. So some coaches are like 60, 60-40, 80-20. I'd rather coach than do the community thing. But this past week on your coaches show that you have live on your social media in Salina, you were asked a question about Salina, how hard it is to not just recruit players to play football, but selling them on the city, and why bringing talent to Salina and keeping them there, why that's a big pivotal point in your recruiting process to get them in Liberty. You got a bunch of guys who you brought in and you sold Salina to them. What is your pitch to get these athletes to call Salina home during the indoor season?
Well, the first thing is I'm very transparent. I'm not selling that this is Miami, Chicago, or LA. So you
Good
have to
point.
be truthful with these guys of understanding that this is a community that's about 48,000 people, blue collar, hardworking. Um, every player is not a fit for what we're doing here in Salina. I want guys that are serious about football, but also good in the community. Of course, you got some guys with some checker passes and things of that nature. This is, you give guys like that second chances, but you let them know what to expect here in Salina. Everybody knows everybody. Every owner has a link of probably about 300 to 400 people that pretty much ties them into the community. And we have 6 different owners. So when you have a ownership group like that, anything you do in the community, it will get back to these owners. So just getting guys that are just hungry for football, want to be good citizens. What you did in the past really doesn't matter. Let's just get here with the common goal of playing some good football, being good in the community, willing to go and do public appearances, things of that nature, to promote our football team here. And it's not, like I said, it's not a big city or anything like that. But I think that's to my advantage. I mean, it's not my first rodeo. This is my 21st year of coaching and my 18th year of being a head coach. And I've coached in Billings, Montana. I've coached in Fort Collins, Colorado. I coached in Casper, Wyoming. I coached in Dodge City and now Salina. So if you look at all 4 or 5 stops I made, none of them were over 150,000. So I like that. It's less distractions. And you get players to really come here for a reason. Sometimes, I was a player. I remember when I was playing with Green Bay, I only picked Green Bay because they played Hawaii that year. So things like that, you want to make sure you weed out of the guys that's really serious about football. Selling Salina is different because most people have never heard of it. I never even heard of it until probably about 9-10 years ago. So letting them know that it's close to Wichita. That's the biggest city that's around this way. And it's just a certain mentality that you have to have here. And I want people that's serious about football. And that's the type guys that we want here. And it's the Liberty way, as we like to say. We do things a certain way. It's very structured. Our ownership group is great. They're hands-on. But they let me coach, and we have a support staff that's amazing as well, with Mike McCoy as our GM, heading the business side up. I had the football side up, and we, form like Voltron, so to say, to get this thing done.
Are you dropping Marvel in this? Really?
Yeah, I love that I love those type of movies. I love those type TV shows. I grew up on that. It's just kind of my thing, so to say.
We got a little Marvel drop on an episode. Never really thought that would be a thing about football. But speaking the off season, now it's time to play football. Last week, you guys played against the Midwest Assailants, 61-0 affair. Now you're building up to a big game tonight against the Omaha Beef. Where's the mindset of your team right now, Coach?
Well, it's always championship mindset. And that basically just means we're doing the things to have those building blocks to lead to a championship. That's what our goal is every year, is to, number one, win a championship. But before you can win a championship, you got to win enough regular season games to get to the playoffs. But we don't want to just get to the playoffs. We want to be the number one seed in the playoffs. So those are basically our three goals every year. And if we don't accomplish all three, in my opinion, that's a failure season. And the last 3 seasons have been a failure season, in my opinion. True, since I've been in Salina, this would be my 8th year. So 7 years of being in Salina, we went to 7 straight semifinal games. So obviously making the playoffs and getting to the Final Four. So definitely contenders every year we've done it. But we haven't won a national championship since 2022. So we're very thirsty for an opportunity to get our chance to do that. And the first step in doing it is playing the Omaha Beef.
Speaking of championships, I think the last championship you guys won was against a opponent very familiar with Salina, and now you get an opportunity to rekindle that tonight. The 2 teams that played in the previous league of the CIF, multiple matchups and championship games and regular season games. It's a low-key rivalry that's not talked about a lot in the industry. What does Omaha and Salina mean to you, this matchup?
Well, I'll take it even further back than that. I mean, I've played Omaha since 2009 when I was in the IFL as a head coach. Jeff Sprouse was the owner at that point. He owned Omaha and St. Louis. So it's always been a rival to me because, I mean, they always put a great team out there. They always have great coaches. They always have great players, and it's always run by a great owner. Jeff Sprouse was a great owner. Now they have Ricky Burks, who's a great owner as well. So fast forwarding to Salina, nothing really has changed for us. Knowing that they are the same of when we left them. If you think about it, they've been to 5 straight national title games, winning 3 of those 5s. And, when they talk about Hall of Famers and things, yes, I am a Hall of Famer, but how is Ricky Burks not? I mean, name another owner that's won 3 national championships as well as with 3 different head coaches. I think that would be a great trivia question. I think he's the only one I've ever seen or known that's done that. So he's going to bring in a great football team. He has a great football team. Coach Negron is a great coach. He was there in Carolina for many, many years. C.J. Kane is a player that I recruited, but now he is the offensive coordinator. So, and then they have my boy over there, Coach Martinez. So they have a great coaching staff, a great ownership group, a great support staff, and great players. So I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, of course, that's a big matchup tonight. But you have individuals on your team that'll put on the Liberty jersey tonight and play for Salina. Talk about this year's team. Any star players, any players that may everyone in the NAL be like, who's that guy? Anyone stood out in the camp, including last week's game, that you really looking forward to the high expectations for these individuals?
Well, I put a lot of on the guys we brought back from last year's team. We have about 7, 8 guys. Kerry Starks is a guy that was the number 1 linebacker in the league in the arena. The arena won last year. He was the first team all-league performer. I think it really starts with him. He's the attitude of the defense. He's a very competitive guy. He takes it very serious. He lives here. He's ingratiated himself into the community. He's a school teacher here as well as a football, wrestling, and track coach at this way. So I think it starts with him. Travis Taylor is another one that he's been with me. I think this is year 8 or 9. He's the longest tenure player I've ever had in my life. He lives out this way as well. So I really think it starts with those 2 on defense. And then offensively, we have 2 guys that came back, and Tracy's been with me since 2018, and Fast Ed has been with me since 2019. Fast Ed he was one of the top receivers in all of the A1 last year. So it kind of starts with him, and then Tracy Brooks, our former MVP of the CIF, and he was a great player in any league that we've ever been in. He's so multifaceted that I think it starts with those 4 players right there, and they've all had great camps. They're healthy. They're ready to go. Another player that I want to mention too is Tappa. Tappa's a guy that's been with us this is his 3rd or 4th year. He was part of that 2022 national championship team, and him leading up that offensive line is huge for us to have those guys back. So I would definitely say those are mainstays that actually put some good stuff up there far as training can.
Well, speaking about the players, you must have the fans. How is the city of Salina, especially community, buy into this team this year?
Well, I think it's no different than how it's been. I would say the first 2 years I was here, this is my 8th year, was a little like what's going on, because previous to me being here, they were 3 wins and 21 losses. So I think the first 2 years I came in and we went right to, a semifinal game. And then the very next year we go to a national title game. I think that was the foundation that was poured, that is hardened now, that we're building upon, that now they understand what I'm trying to bring to the table, what the ownership group is trying to bring to the table, what Mike McCoy is trying to bring to the business side of it. It's not up in the air, not knowing what to expect. Now they're expecting us to win every game, us to be in the semifinals, us to be a contender, us to be, a championship caliber team each and every year, which is exactly what we wanted it to be. And you could see it with, our sponsorships. This is the most sponsorships we've ever sold in my 8 years of ever being here. We had a preseason game this past week that almost looked like a regular season game. It's the biggest preseason game as far as attendance that we've ever had, by at least almost 1,000 fans. So definitely was happy to see the growth of the Salina Liberty. I just think this is the infant stage. I think we have so much further to go moving forward.
And before we let you go, what are your 3 keys to today's game?
Well, basically, it's pretty much the same as don't turn the ball over, create turnovers, and if we do get turnovers, maximize those turnovers with points.
Well, that's simple. That's just not indoor. That's in every version of football. If you can stop them, steal the ball, and score, you win the game most of the time. But
Yeah, it's
Coach,
a simple formula.
You're a coach. You know what to do. I just covered the sport. That's my job. But anyway, Coach, appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks again for having me.
I'd like to thank Coach again for joining the show. As you know, he's getting ready. First home game, first league game, especially against a renewed rival in the Omaha Beef. And you can sense that the community of Salina are really buying into the organization over the years. And it's not just the titles that they've won in Salina. It's not the multiple, as he stated multiple times, the multiple semifinal finishes in the city and in the leagues. Championships bring a lot of things too. And Salina has done that over the years. Seems like they are very focused and ready for this big matchup. And based on what he said, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this in Salina and you don't want to watch the game on the NAL network, go down to the arena. The game kicks off 6:30 Central for your viewing needs. Oh, Salina, Omaha, big time matchup. And before we get CJ Kane on to discuss the Omaha side of things of this rivalry, we got to touch up on the other action in the National Arena League today, including the big one that's kicking off at 6:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Central in Pueblo, where the Pueblo Punishers are taking on the Dallas Bulls. Bulls come in with an 0-1 record with their one loss to the Colorado Spartans. And the Pueblo Punishers are coming off with a 2-0 start, a big win against the Colorado Spartans in week 1, and going on the road to defeat the Omaha Beef in Omaha. Dallas, Pueblo, kickoff at 6:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Central. Pueblo could become one of the first surprise teams of the 2026 season. They could already be to some of the fans out there, but starting 3-0, entering their first bye week is very impressive, especially the season that we're going to have and all the great teams that we have in our league. Getting an early start like that would be very beneficial, in my opinion, Arena League. But speaking about teams, we had a friend of the show on earlier and had a chance to join him while he was being mobiled on a van traveling from Omaha to Salina for tonight's game. Here's my interview with CJ Kane. We're now joined by offensive coordinator of the Omaha Beef, a good friend of the show from multiple years, CJ Kane. CJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we can tell that you're currently in a van or a vehicle heading to Salina, so you are moments away to get into Salina. How's prep week been this week so far after last week's results?
It's been a pretty good week. The guys understood the challenge. We bumped our head last week. So, it's a long season, so one game doesn't define us, good or bad. So, that's been the message all week. So it's been full go, getting ready for Salina.
I know you, as a former player, you're usually the one that's on the field, but you have a different role as offensive coordinator this year for the Omaha Beef. How are you adjusting to the role, and do you still feel like you can still put the pads on and get out there and play for the team?
Yeah, I mean, that I think I'll always feel that until I can't. But I've I've enjoyed the transition, being able to continue to help guys advance their career, and help Coach Negron and this staff and this organization, however I can. It's been pretty great. Been pretty great to get that transition.
This is a lot of coaching speak, but usually the best improvement of an organization is between week 1 and week 2. Last week, the Beef fell to Pueblo, and now you got another test with Salina coming up next. A team that they're coming off of their first win over a non-league opponent. What has Salina shown you via their film and the adjustments you guys have been making this week since your first game to get ready for this action here today and against Salina?
Yeah, absolutely. We're preparing for a physical football game, with a well-coached team. Um, we've adjusted our roster and made some moves to help make us better. But we're expecting a dogfight from start to finish. We don't expect to get much when we get down there, but we're excited for the rivalry to come back, from a few years ago. So it's exciting.
Well, speaking about the rivalry, that's a matchup. A cohort that's in the same vehicle as you has been a part of this rivalry for some time now between Salina and Omaha. But you've been a spectator from the far, but also you've been playing with other organizations and other leagues. What you know? What's your knowledge of the rivalry between Omaha and Salina?
Um, I don't know if there's a hatred among the organizations. I don't know if it's that level, but Salina and Omaha have competed for 3 or 4 championships amongst each other, competing, very frequently. They were the class of the CIF, and now, you know, adding Salina to the NAL makes it a much better opportunity to bring that rivalry back. So I'm excited for it. Never got a chance to go to Salina. Um, almost played there in 2019. So it'll be cool to get to go down there and see that arena, those fans, and get to see what they have to offer.
Uh, the rivalry is what it is. You've been a part of some rivalries in your time, especially in the NAL with the Cobras and with Willing. So you know the rivalries, but a lot of them don't match up to the history of these two teams have on the field. Multiple championship game appearances between these two teams. So it's not highly talked about, but it should be talked about as one of the top tier rivalries in the game. But you now, as an offensive coordinator and a player, what is the day-to-day operations for you as a coach now compared to when you were as a player getting ready for a game of this magnitude?
Well, the obvious, it's a lot less physical.
True.
I'm not having to worry about trying to quarterback sneak into the end zone, or run my head into anybody. But it's a lot of the same process. Watching film, um, looking at transactions, see who's in, who's out, who's hurt, who's signed, and just kind of see how that plays into what they could do offensively and defensively. I meet a lot. Me and Coach Loftus talk a lot. And, we try to put together the best game plans that we can, and we both feed off of each other, and he helps me out with things he sees defensively, and vice versa. So
Well, that's especially this is your first year as a coordinator. You've been in the grown system for a few years with his time in Carolina. But from a coordinator perspective, Name a few players that stood out to you so far this season that you've seen under your lineage in the area of Omaha.
Yeah, last week was a bit tough, to be, frank, but in camp and leading up, having a good week of practice. Let's see, David Ross, our offensive line's done pretty well. Receiver wise, we've added some weapons. We have a young guy named Cam Alves who's going to be a very, very good player, for as long as he wants to play. Um, yeah, I mean, we've added weapons. You know, Dem- Demery's back this week, and then adding Tobias Taylor, Langford, Daquan Dudley, just getting to see all those guys kind of start coming together and gel together, and it's feeling, just camaraderie than what we've had the last couple of weeks.
Well, it sounds like you guys are getting healthy on a good stretch here. You got some big time opponents over the next couple of weeks. But you're on the road, you're traveling, right? So what's the go-to snack with this little trip to Salina?
Um, didn't really get too many snacks today. Just some water, some Gatorade to get down. If you can't tell, I've lost my voice a little bit, so fighting through that. But just trying to stay hydrated on the way to Salina. It's a nice 91 degrees outside today, so
91 degrees. It is actually colder where I'm at than it is in Salina. That's interesting. And I'm further
yeah,
south than you guys.
yeah. I mean, we're supposed to be, I think, like 94. Good thing we're in the arena, and it's it might be like 75. They might turn the heat up a little bit today, but
Hey. But anyway, CJ, appreciate you coming on the show. Safe travels to Salina, and good luck tonight.
yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to thank CJ for joining me today. As you can tell, he was traveling to Salina. The thing about indoor fans, a lot of driving in vans and buses, but they're on the road heading to Salina for the kickoff down there later tonight in Salina between the Omaha Beef. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow all the content of the National Arena League at NAL-network.com. Both games are on tonight again at 6:30 Central. Omaha versus Salina, 7:30 Central, 6:30 Mountain. Dallas versus Pueblo in a matchup out there in Colorado. But also, we kind of skipped it last week, but we won't this week. Jim's 3 keys of week 3. Getting healthy. Demery Croft comes back as quarterback, as stated by CJ Kane earlier in the episode. Does Demery get back and the offense get back to flow? And do they have a second half performance like they did the first half performance earlier last week? Does Omaha keep consistent? I want to see if Omaha's offense stays consistent in this game. If they can do that, it's going to be very entertaining. Number 2, share all the love with Salina and Omaha. Got to show some love for the Dallas Pueblo matchup. I want to see if Dallas has some fight in them. Do they go on the road and fight and really challenge Pueblo? Do I think this is going to be an upset in the making? It could. But the question is how can they go for it and push forward in this matchup? I want to see if Dallas has a fight in them. It's going to be entertaining, ladies and gentlemen. You find out later tonight. The primetime game, you could say, for the NAL between Dallas and Pueblo. But number 1 storyline this week is actually joint. Salina and Pueblo, 2 home teams. Do the home team secure home field advantage in week 3 and get out of the week with wins? We'll find out. Does Pueblo start 3-0? Does Salina start 1-0 and cap off a good start to the season and with a win over their arch rival or a rebirth of a rival? We'll find out. Again, we'll find out in that game at 6:30 Central on the NAL Network. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you joining this episode of NAL Game Day. Remember to follow all National Arena League social media sites at NAL Football. Also, Follow us on NAL-network.com for more content from coaches' shows, podcasts, highlights, full game recaps, short recaps, and much, much more. A lot more content coming down on the NAL Network. And we can't do this without our sponsors. Black Rifle Coffee, First Phantom Energy, Hard AF Seltzer, MyBookie, and SNHU. I am Jim Renier of NAL Game Day, also Inside the Walls. But again, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you joining. Get ready. Big time matchups later tonight. Sit back, get some popcorn, get some brewskis, whatever you're going to do. Tune in to NAL Network tonight and get ready for some good action, especially in Salina. We'll see you guys on Tuesday for recap on Inside the Walls podcast.
I'm talking fast-paced action. I'm talking lights, camera, action. You better be about that action, cause ain't no need for no act. Talking hits so hard they breaking backs. Yeah, I ain't with all the chitter chatter, only talking facts. Yeah, it's the NAL, we be playing indoors, no outdoors, and it ain't on the ground. It's the NAL, it's the NAL, it's the NAL, it's the NAL. Ooh!